Hello everyone and welcome to this video. Now today I'm going to be doing an album review. I'm going to be taking a look at this record today, which is by the Icicle Works, their self-titled debut album here from 1984. So yes, I'll just be doing my usual thing in this video, showing you my vinyl copy of the album here, and then looking at each of the album's tracks in detail. So yeah, like I said, this was their debut album released on the 28th of March in 1984. The group were based in Liverpool. They formed in 1980, and they consisted of Ian McNabb on guitar, vocals, and basically doing like all like the songwriting, Chris Lathe on bass, and Chris Sharrock on drums. Notably with Chris Sharrock, he would go on to drum with Oasis, and like continues to be Noel Gallagher's drummer. Now, the Icicle Works' first release was a independently released cassette called Ascending, which was followed by a single called Nirvana, which was a bit of a minor hit, like in like the UK indie charts, reached number 15, like on like the indie charts here. And by 1983, like they climbed like another rung, like on like the ladder, being signed to Beggars Banquet Records, and then released a couple of singles ahead of their album, like to some degree, like of commercial success. So for this album, they were paired up with producer Hugh Jones, a very prestigious producer of many punk and post-punk acts. However, the single from this album, or like one of the singles, Love Is a Wonderful Colour, was produced by David Lord. In terms of its commercial success, this album did do quite well. It's definitely the Icicle Works' most successful album here, where it reached number 24 in the UK, as well as number 40 like in like America. So, I mean, by all accounts, a pretty successful album, like for like a promising kind of commercial performance for like a then like unknown band's debut album. Now, confusingly with this album, it was released in quite a few different configurations like around the world. So this is like a Japanese pressing because it's got like the Obi strip on it, but this was how it was originally released again like the UK, with this cover and like this like 10-track track list here. But like in like America, they got a very different cover of a photo of the band, which I probably do prefer actually. I think it's nice to get the band shot like on like the cover there, and similar back cover design. But also what they've basically done with the track list is they've essentially just taken the original album and just hit shuffle, and like it feels like it's like not just like one or two songs again like a different place. The whole album has been completely like rearranged, and then I think you've then got one track which is different like on like either version. So yeah, all round quite a puzzling release. And then I think there was also a different version like in Canada like as well. Right, so I want to show you my UK like copy of it here, or like rather like this Japanese pressing of it, but very much a replica of like what the original UK looked like. I mean, these Japanese pressings sound incredible. I've not got too many of them, but there's a guy who comes to the big record fair like in Glasgow who always has a load, and they're usually fairly reasonable price, about sort of £10-15, probably about the same price that you'd pay for the actual album. And I mean, they all sound great. They're all in pristine condition like as well, with these lovely sort of like polyline sleeves. There's the original Beggars Banquet label there, and then the inner sleeve looks like this. So I think on my American copy, which I won't bother showing you, this was the inner sleeve, but on this version it's just a kind of like an insert, and then you've then got all of like the Japanese lyrics on the inside, and then a nice wee photo of the band there. So yeah, that is the vinyl record looked at. Okay, so I'll now go over each of the album's tracks in detail. I'll score each song out of 10, and then use those scores to give us a overall percentage marking for the album. So the album kicks off with the track Chop the Tree, which is a very rhythmic track with some great powerhouse drumming on it from like Chris Sharrock. I just love the way the track builds up like so well, like kind of so both musically, but also like McNabb's like vocal like as well is just like just grows like in like intensity like as like the track like goes on. The lyrics are essentially kind of like a love song about kind of finding love and kind of sort of like getting like a relationship sort of through like a time like of like adversity. He sings in it like, we found a way to tie a bond between our hearts in the open field should there we lay, found a sharp stone, found a big tree, found a clear space in the bark, he sings it. So a lot of this album does have kind of lyrics which are quite metaphorical, a little bit perhaps pretentious like in some ways, but also quite kind of like sort of like quite earthy lyrics as well, kind of talking like sort of like using kind of nature like, and like the elements I guess like as kind of like various metaphors and that. So no, like this is a really great song, and like Chop the Tree kicks off the album in fantastic form. Okay, and then the second track on the album is Love is a Wonderful Colour, which I've got the original and 12-inch of it here to show. So this is a great song. It's my favourite track on the album, and it is one of the best songs of the 80s, I would go as far to say. It's got this very lush kind of, Phil Spector-esque production on it, and again, a bit like Chocolate Sheet, like an arrangement that always feels like it's like building up and kind of like ramping up. This was a big commercial success for them, like in like the UK, like in particular, where it peaked at number 15 and was the Icicle Works only top 50 hit. And yeah, it is just a wonderful song. This extended mix is really good, but like I do probably prefer like the slightly tighter like album version. So this was the original single, and the B-side on it, which is a track called Waterline, was the song that was swapped out like on like the American version. So you get Waterline like on like the US version of it. So I would say that with Waterline, it's a good song. I just don't think it quite maybe fits in with the album. It definitely has a more kind of contemporary 80s feel to it, whereas a lot of the rest of the album has a kind of 60s psychedelic kind of throwback. So like it is a track that I'm glad was kind of not put on like the UK version. But no, I mean like Love is a Wonderful Colour though, like it's like the main attraction, and just like what a wonderful song it is. Okay, next song up on the album now, track 3, is called Reaping the Rich Harvest. Now this one is a slightly slower song, but also one like I'd say is like pretty good. Again, it's got another fantastic chorus that only when I find you will I use your lines for guidance. That whole bit just sounds great. The instrumentation again just really soars like on it. Kind of sort of seeking guidance from I guess like a higher power like sort of thing like on it. It's a really good song. This was the track that was left off the American version, and I do prefer it to like the track that was included like Waterline like on like the US version. So no, Reaping the Rich Harvest, really really great song there. Next up is As the Dragonfly Flies. Now this one is a more kind of punky song, a bit more like abrasive, kind of short track. Great bass line work on it from like Chris Lathe, what really kind of powers the track like along. Just for me, it's not one of my favourites like on the album. I probably wouldn't necessarily go back to it much, but on the album it is a real like shot of energy like on the album, which is kind of needed after Reaping like the Rich Harvest, and just shows that they are again like they are doing a lot of different styles. Like they can do the kind of like the lush kind of big production number like on Love is a Wonderful Colour, but then they can also just rock out and be a bit of a punk band like on like this track. Okay, next up now closes off side 1 is Lover's Day. Now this one is it's not one of my favourites like on the album again. Got interesting production on it. You got kind of synthesized kind of pan flutes like on the introduction, which is quite a unique kind of sound. And then again, great drumming like from Shattuck on it, but I just think it's a slightly weaker track. I think it's the lyrics on this one which kind of well, not like let it down, but I just struggled to connect with. He kind of talks about we are architects of innocence, delinquents of prestige. So yeah, it's very slightly pretentious, self-indulgent like imagery like there, but like a really good song like kind of musically like at least. But like on an album which is as good as this but also quite short as well, only 10 tracks, slightly weaker tracks like this don't really have like anywhere to hide, and do sort of somewhat start to let the album down like a little bit. The world is waiting for cohesion to come through anticipation. But then side 2 kicks off with a really great song called In the Cauldron of Love. Now this one again, I'm not too crazy about the verses. They're kind of like the slightly silly imagery of a kind of cauldron of love and all that. But what really lifts this song and makes it, like I would say, a 9 out of 10 song is the bridge part. That like the world is waiting for cohesion to come through anticipation of a line that rings true. That bit is truly breathtaking. It's one of my favourite. It's not quite a chorus like on like the song, but it's like a bridge section, but like it comes around a couple of times and it's just incredible. It's one of my favourite moments like on this album, like just like that bridge section, which really raises this track up for me quite a bit. Okay, next one up now is called Out of Season. Now this one is a much slower, much more atmospheric track, this one here. It's got this kind of repeating kind of vibraphone part. It just goes round and round and round, and it gives it a very like hypnotic like feel to this track. it's a great song. I think lyrically, like this one is definitely one of like the better and slightly more relatable lyrics about kind of finding young love and kind of a narrative about sort of seeking approval like from like sort of like the girls and like parents and just all this kind of nervousness about kind of starting like a like relationship. There's some great lines I picked up, like her father regards me with caution as I wait in his library. The scent of tobacco and the silence of the room are inside me, he sings on it. It just really stands out, this song, both in terms of like its lyrical content, but also just the production as well. Great reverby guitar sounds on it, and then just this epic kind of ending, like the last maybe 2 minutes of the track are all just like instrumental, or like maybe you've got McNabb doing like the singing like the title line, like I'm not sure. But it just sounds absolutely epic, the ending of this one. So Out of Season, another real favourite of mine, another 10 out of 10. I love you as a factory in the desert. Okay, next up is called A Factory in the Desert. Now, this one is another weaker track on the album for me. Only slightly weaker. Like, I wouldn't say like it's a bad song or one that I would ever skip over like on the album, but maybe just not one that I would return to on the album. Lyrically, again it's the lyrics that slightly let this song down for me. It's got the slightly puzzling metaphor about out like the centre like off like the track, like I'll love you as a factory in the desert, he sings of it. I mean, God knows what he means like by that. But musically it's pretty strong. Again, you've got a really good like engaging guitar riff, and once again some amazing drumming like from Chris Shattuck on it. So the Factory like in the Desert, a pretty good album cut there. And the next one up now, the penultimate track, was probably the biggest single and probably most well-known track on the album outside of the UK, which is Birds Fly, Whisper to a Scream, or if you were in America, I think it was called Whisper to a Scream brackets Birds Fly. And I've got a couple of singles here. So I think this was the original one that came out in 1983, like in like the UK here. Nothing to write home about package-wise. Nice photo like off like the band on the back. But then I've also got this one here, which is one I picked up, I think, in a record shop in Stirling, and it was actually signed by Ian McNabb himself. I think this must be like a later reissue of it, because you got like In the Cauldron Love and then a couple of other B-sides there on it. So yeah, they did reissue this song a few times, tried to get it to become like a big hit, like in like the UK, which it never quite managed to. Like in like the UK, like it would peak at number 52 like on the charts, but like in like America, it would do really well, reaching number 37, becoming again the Icicle Works' most popular song, and like in Canada, doing even better than that, reaching number 19. So again, a really good commercially successful song here for like an unknown band like off like the time. I mean, about the song, it is just a great track. It starts off with some great jangly guitar work like on it, and then this prominent bass part, and then suddenly the track just veers off like in like a different direction. It kind of breaks down. You just get Shattuck's drumming on it, which is frantic and really pulls you into the track. But then you're just rewarded with a really fantastic chorus that like we are but your children, finding our way around indecision. That bit is just great. And yeah, it is a great song. So yeah, another 10 out of 10 there for Birds Fly, Whisper to a Scream. Okay, and now the last track up on the album is called Nirvana. Now this one is a slower, darker, slightly more brooding track, this one here. So this one originally came out as their first single, like as I mentioned earlier. And I'm not sure if it was re-recorded perhaps for this album version. It certainly doesn't sound or feel out of place like closing this album, and I think works really well like as a closer, because it is quite a long song. It goes through kind of multiple sections. It's quite psychedelic like as well, sort of swirling backwards guitar kind of sounds on it. Just really pulls you in. Quite a captivating song, like I think. Yeah, definitely one of the like stronger tracks like on the album. Okay, so overall, this album would score 86%. So I think this is a really, really, really great debut album. Definitely one of the best debut albums of the 1980s. It is a great sounding album throughout. I think the production was one of the first things that really stood out, like about this album to me. It's just the right mix of it being expansive and reverby and quite like echoey kind of sort of sound, like quite a big sound, but still has a lot of immediacy and punch, especially like in like the performances. I mean, particularly like Chris Lath's bass and Chris Shattuck's drumming, like really take the center stage like on this album. I think the songs are great as well. Like, for like the most part, there's a couple of absolute gems like on this album, from top and like from Chop the Tree through to Love Is a Wonderful Colour, like In the Cauldron of Love, Out of Season, and Birds Fly are all great highlights, and yeah, some of the best songs like off like this era. Now, unfortunately for the Icicle Works, this would very much be their peak commercial success. Like, they released I think 3 or 4 more albums after this, but all of them didn't really do all that well. The singles were kind of like, they chart at about, say, something like 60, 70, like on like the charts, but do nothing more than that. And it's a shame that they wouldn't achieve the same kind of commercial heights like as like other similar bands like off like the time. Like, and like these singles like Love Is a Wonderful Colour and Birds Fly would really be like their only big hits. I would say though, this is their best album, like out of like the ones like that I've heard. I've got a couple of the albums that came out after it, and I must say I've generally been a bit disappointed with those. I've kind of thought they were maybe a bit lackluster perhaps, so this is definitely the highlight of the discography for me, like at like the minute. So the Icicle Works debut album here. So yeah, I hope you have enjoyed this review. I'd be interested to know what you think of the album down below in the comments, and yep, I'll see you all next time for the next video. Goodbye.